Are you wondering how to create a metal or wood material? So you are in the right place. In this video, I will teach you in less than 10 minutes how to create and use Corona physical material. To help me, my assistant Lumixy AI is here.
Hello, everyone. Get ready for an immersive journey into the world of Corona physical materials. Let's dive right in.
To start, I will click on the viewport where I will render and initiate viewport rendering. Okay, as we can see, we have a few objects without materials. Click on the Slate Material Editor icon or simply press M. Here, we will create our materials. If the Compact Material Editor pops up, you can switch it using the small triangle on the lower right part of the icon, or stick with the Compact Editor if you are comfortable using it. Right-click to create our very first material. Choose Material, Corona Physical Material. Double-click on the small preview to help us set material initially. Also, to keep our file organized, I will rename it from the menu in the right panel. Our first material will be plastic. Okay, if we look below, we will see all the settings for that material. It may seem overwhelming at first, but don't worry, we will focus on the most important settings shortly. The first thing we usually decide here is the color of the material. By default, the material appears gray in the preview. Let's choose a color and click OK. Initially, I will make it darker to clearly show you the next settings. From now on, I will refer to that parameter as the base color. Select the plastic object in the scene. Even though we are rendering in that viewport, I can still select objects. Right-click on the material and apply to the selection. Okay, the material is applied. Great. Although there are different types of plastics, I believe that the reflection should be more visible, either matte or glossy. To control that, I will adjust the roughness parameter. It is initially set to 0.75, which makes the reflections very matte. The value can range from 0, absolutely sharp reflections, to a maximum of 1, very matte reflections. I usually avoid using 1 because it can look strange in most cases. To make the reflections more visible but not too sharp, I will set them close to 0.2. However, the specific value depends on the desired material. Excellent, we have our first Corona physical material set. Now, let's move on and create the next one. To do this, I will use a plastic material as a base. Simply hold Shift and drag it to make a copy. Our next material will be a metal, so I will rename it to keep my file organized. Hey Lumixy, can you tell me how a metal material should look like?
Sure, in the real world, metal material usually has different reflection properties and seems to look more reflective. Of course, they can be rusty, which deforms the reflections, but in general cases, metals are very reflective.
To achieve this, simply switch the material type from the drop-down to metal. Okay, now it looks like metal. We can easily change the base color to make it look like gold or copper. If we want to achieve this faster, we can use a preset from the drop-down menu. As you can see, there are numerous predefined materials available. Choose a copper preset. Corona will inform us that using the preset will modify the material settings. Click OK and the copper settings are applied. I can also experiment with other presets. Notice that all these materials come with predefined settings for color, roughness and more. Next, let's create a glass material. Lumixy, can you tell me how it should look?
In the real world, generic glass material doesn't have a color. It appears transparent when viewed perpendicularly and reflects when viewed parallel to its surface.
To create a glass material, we are going to use a Corona physical material preset directly. Click on the glass in the preset option. Now, we can see that the glass material has a roughness of 0, making the reflections very sharp, and the refraction is set to 1, making it completely refractive. Let's apply it to an object and observe that parameter. If the refraction is set to 0, the material won't be refractive. Increasing the value will make it semi-refractive, while a value of 1 makes it fully refractive. By combining sharp reflections with full refractions, we can achieve a realistic glass material. After creating the glass, plastic and metal, it's time to create wood material. To accomplish this, we need a texture for the color. Click on the box button after the base color and choose Corona bitmap. Select a texture from your hard drive and apply it to the table. Then, set the roughness to 0.2. Okay, it looks nice, but perhaps a bit too perfect.
Ivan, in the real world, if we have actual wood, the reflections won't be evenly glossy, some parts will be rougher.
Okay, noted that, Lumixy. To achieve this, we are going to use a black and white version of the same texture, but inverted. When downloading texture, they often include the texture for the roughness as well. Keep in mind that when working with such textures, the value of 0 for roughness corresponds to the black color, while white represents a value of 1. Essentially, darker texture results in a glossier material. To load the texture, hold Shift and drag the base texture. Click Load and choose the black and white texture. Link the texture to the roughness swap. We can see that some parts of the material appear less glossy thanks to the roughness texture. Additionally, wood in the real world has a certain structure and bumpiness. To achieve this, we will use another black and white texture for the bump, connecting it to the bump swap. Basically, white places will be displaced up and the black down. Now the wood has a noticeable bumpiness. Let's reduce the effect. I will set it to 0.2. There we have it, a wood material with a texture and structure. Creating a wall or concrete material follows a similar process depending on the specific concrete type. Sometimes the bump effect can be more pronounced. If the concrete is polished, we might reduce the bump and contrast in the roughness map. Nonetheless, the overall process remains the same. If you come across a normal map in the downloaded pack, don't worry. To use it, we can connect it to Corona normal map and then to the bump swap. Now, let's create a fabric material and rename it accordingly. To start, we can add a base texture and a bump texture. Adjust the bump effect to 0.1 and apply the material to see the results. Okay, it already looks good. Something seems to be missing, some softness. In the real world, fabric materials have a soft feel. To achieve this, we need to enable the sheen parameter by setting it to 1. That looks much better. Additionally, we can also change the sheen color to a brighter version of the base color. Okay, we've covered the basics of Corona physical materials. Let's explore where to find ready-to-use materials. First, open Chaos Cosmos, the Chaos library for 3D assets. Here, you can find a wide variety of ready-to-use materials. Download and import one into your scene. If an object is still selected, the material will be automatically applied to it. Another place to find materials is the Corona Material Library. Once again, you can choose from a range of materials and apply them with a right click. best part is that these materials are fully editable, allowing you to examine their settings and learn from them. Okay guys, this was all for this tutorial. Now we know how to create and use Corona physical material. Keep in mind that in the real world each material has different properties, so make sure to change them accordingly. I hope you have found some useful knowledge from that video, so stay tuned for my next one.